and this is season 2 of the Literary Grapevine. We like to think of ourselves as amateur wine connoisseurs and expert novel readers. And if you are under 18 or saw us grow up, this podcast is probably not for you.
Absolutely not. Before today, Spencer and I have not discussed the wine. We both have tasted the wine we're discussing today, and we have not discussed either of the books we haven't talked about either one, have we? Honestly, we didn't talk about Fourth Wing. And so we're super excited, and I will let you know that the most reckless thing I have done in a very long time is go to a midnight release of a book, and it is indeed the book we're discussing today.
Yes,
So
I couldn't find my normal copy of Fourth Wing, so this is what I got. But
honestly, you need to share that. Like, that's so cool that you do that. By the way,
well, it's something. But yes, I was very proud of Amanda because she got to Barnes and Noble and was like, "No, we get the books at 10, right?" And it was kind of like that TikTok video of Jennifer Lawrence where she's drinking, like eating the hot wings, and she's like, "What do you mean? What do you what do you mean?" That was Amanda. Amanda was very much like, "What do you mean we don't get the books till 12 a.m.?" And I was like, "Well, it is a midnight release, so you know." But she stayed, and we had a blast. We met a new friend. Hi, Cody. If you do watch this, hello. You were so nice, and thanks for hanging out with us. But yeah, it was pretty reckless. I was exhausted the next day and I worked from home. So,
I'm so tired.
okay, so this will be a little bit of a longer episode. But where we are going to start as if everyone had read Fourth Wing and then primarily talk more into Iron Flame. But so much is going to come up from Iron Flame or from Fourth Wing and dive into Iron Flame as well. So this probably will be a very heavy spoiler episode. I think it would be really hard to not talk about spoilers during the whole episode, which normally what we do is we talk about the wine, then we talk non spoilers, and then we do spoilers. For this episode, it is all spoilers.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it because there's no way I feel like to not talk about spoilers.
No, and if you haven't read these two, go pick it up right now, then come back and listen. It's pretty much over all social media right now. It's a very hot book, hot two books. I think they were both at number 1 and 2 New York Times bestseller slot. So they're definitely worth the read, and it's a lot of fun. I think being in that community of being able to be listening to people have these theories on TikTok and Instagram, and we're going to dive into some of those. So it'll be a good time. But if you haven't read them, go pick them up, read them, and then come back. We'll still be here. Don't worry.
Absolutely. And I'm not even on TikTok. I have TikTok accounts. I don't know how to access them really. And I know about these. So that's like even your people not on TikTok know that this is what it's about.
Yeah,
So
it's very. I mean, not to be cheesy, but there are dragons, so it is very hot. There's a lot of flames. That was bad. We should probably cut it, but a little candle burning. Look, this is what it is. The fire, the
wow.
flame.
What
Woo.
flavor is that?
Holiday spruce. I've had it for about 2 years, and it's been sitting in my bathroom. So I finally decided to, you know, do it. I think it's from Target.
Cheers to that. Can we start drinking wine though?
Yes, please. Okay, so we are both so excited about this wine. I found it a few months ago, and it was actually during my Fourth Wing read, and I saw Girl and Dragon, and I was also heavily in a Malbec era, and it was just perfect. So, like Amanda mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we have both had this before, but we haven't talked about it besides being like, it's really good. So I mean, off to a strong start with the label, and
Literally.
even the foil around the top. I didn't know if you noticed, Amanda, but there were dragon scales on it. And so it was like it was black
Oh
and black. So it
yeah.
was yes. So there's dragon scales on it. So just from the get go, amazing. So we have talked in past episodes about Malbec and how it's kind of uh, I think there's like 2 regions that it's really grown in, and the grapes are grown in, and it's Argentina, and then oh gosh, I think Italy that the other one is grown in, and so there's 2 distinct tastes that the Malbecs have from those different regions, which the more you get into wine, the more you recognize like the grapes from those regions. I'm not there yet, but I can tell you from the bottle that this is from Argentina.
Not me.
So this one is from Argentina. I feel like it gives it a little bit more. Uh, I think that region just is a little bit more like you taste a little bit more of like the soil, if that makes sense. I don't really know how to explain that. But it's a little more earthy. There we go. That's the word I was looking for, not
You
soil.
got it. You got there.
So it's a little bit earthy. This is a 2022, and I think most of the time it's usually about a year model. And I love this label because it says, "We fly the world looking for new adventures in wine." This Malbec is made from Argentina's most famous grape. Lush, complex, magical. The dragon and I dare you to take a sip. Be fearless. So just everything about this bottle is amazing, and I'm so excited to actually talk about the um, flavor profile of this wine.
And it's gold and black.
I know it. I mean, everything about it was perfect.
That was such an elementary comment to add. And the color.
Also, I want no judgment if this bottle is finished by the time this podcast is over because it
Oh,
is
could you
Saturday night.
imagine?
Normally, Amanda and I do our recordings the same day we post, but illnesses and life have taken us down. So it's Saturday night, so no judgment on how much wine we drink.
Honestly, fair enough. Well,
Okay,
cheers, my friend.
cheers.
I love this wine.
So good. I just
I know.
I will say I really like it's not too heavy for a Malbec. It is
Mm-mm.
a little light. And sometimes when you get with a little bit more of a on the dry red scale, it is really bold and really heavy. But this one's still pretty light, so like, I really feel like I could just drink this like juice. It doesn't taste like the sweet wine like juice does, but I feel like I could drink it like it is juice.
Yeah, it doesn't burn very much.
No, no. It's yeah, it's really I just love this wine. And it's like $12 here in Oklahoma. I don't know the rest of the world, but Oklahoma it's like $12. And so I have probably to date drank like 5 bottles of these since I discovered it. It's my go-to now.
Cheers.
And I just feel like I'm in a fantasy novel. Like what I do is I get this wine, I start my little like book or my crafts, whatever I'm doing, and then I play this playlist on Spotify called POV. You're in a fantasy novel. So shout out to that playlist because it's phenomenal, and so it just makes me feel like I am at Basquiat and there. So
Spencer, I love that for you so much.
thank you. That had nothing to do with the wine. Okay, so Amanda, how many stars would you give the wine?
It's the aesthetic. For me, this wine is a 5 out of 5.
I would say for me too, it's definitely a 5 out of 5. I think it's for its range as far as price. I mean, top tier, it's great. I did have
Absolutely.
one Malbec that I think was I would go to over this wine. I have no idea what the name is, but I was in New York City at a wine bar, and there was oh my gosh, what are the people who do wine called?
Sommelier.
Sommelier. There was a sommelier, and I was like, "We're talking about wine."
I didn't know where you were going with that, but I
Okay,
was like,
anyways,
okay.
so he's really knowledgeable about wine, and it was my friend Taylor and I. We were at a restaurant, and we were talking about Malbecs, and I was like, this was when I first drank them, and I was like, I'm really trying to adventure into it. Anyways, he brought out different Malbecs, and I had tried some. I think after looking at my bill, they were a lot pricier than this one. Um, but I think especially for this price range, if you want a good, not too heavy Malbec, this is the one to go to.
Yeah, especially for like a girls' night book club.
Oh, perfect.
Like the range that this bottle has alone with the label is enough, but then you taste it and yeah, I would think it's more expensive than it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm with you. 5 stars. Love it. Okay.
So now that we talked about 5-star wine, let's talk about books.
Okay. So I'm curious, maybe before we go into like super heavy details, I want to know your ratings for both book. I know we typically do those at the end, but I'm curious now because I feel like it's going to set up the conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Fourth Wing for me was for sure 5 star, no questions asked. I won't say I was in a reading slump by any means, but I know that one of the things like the author had talked about was like getting people into fantasy that like don't
Yeah,
read fantasy. And like, I do read a lot of fantasy, but sometimes it can be a lot for me. It's like, I've read about 12 worlds in a month. Like, I have no idea what's going on. So it had been a while since I had really read and gotten into fantasy. And then I read this book and honestly think I picked it up one day and finished it that day. It was like it just captivated me completely, um, for so many reasons. But for sure, Fourth Wing for me was a 5 out of 5. No, no doubt about that. How about you?
Fourth Wing, I agree. 5 out of 5. I was just I I wasn't super. I picked it up when it was published, like the day I had pre-ordered it, because my really good friend Amber, hi Amber, if you listen to this, shout out. She's been reading Rebecca's books for years. Like she knows
Oh,
Rebecca and has been reading her books for years. And so she kept telling me, she's like, you need to pre-order this book. It's going to be really good. Rebecca's writing is really good. It's her first fantasy novel, but like it'll be good. So I pre-ordered it and it came in and I was in that same spot where I wasn't quite in a slump, but I had just finished a book and I was like, I guess I'll pick it up, you know? So I picked it
yeah.
up before it really got the fanfare, and which I think for me really made me just realize how much I loved it on itself, like not for how big of a thing it became. But I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy Amber made me pre-order this because one, I got the sprayed edges, and then two, I read it right away and it was great. And I rarely read books right away. And so for me too, it was a 5 star. I think it was great for if you don't read fantasy, it's a great intro into it. I know I've seen some criticism of like if you are a fantasy reader, um, that it doesn't go as deep into the worlds that like really diehard fantasy readers want to know. I think from like a person who reads a lot of romantasy, it was perfect. Like I loved it. I thought it was great all around, and the ending just was crazy. It was just absolutely crazy.
It was wild. It really was. But yeah, it was such a good read and it was such a good, like, it was newer. Like, it was a new twist on a lot of
Yes,
stories that we've, like, familiar things that we've read about or know about. So for that, I applaud.
yeah.
For Iron Flame, I will say the text was small for your girl here. Um,
I had to read it on my Kindle.
it
I
was
was like, I'm getting too old. And I was like, I'm not even 30, but this text is so small. I'm like, into the camera or into the book, like trying to read it.
honestly same. And I was like, I know that has literally nothing to do with the content of the book, but I was like, is it just me or is this
No, it's
very
not.
difficult?
So I think Crescent City is about 700,000 words.
Yes.
Iron Flame was like 750,000 words. It was longer than Crescent City too.
And a smaller, like, honestly, like it
No,
doesn't
you
look
didn't,
like it's
it
as long as
deceives
it
you.
is.
It
Because
deceives
I feel like I could read this in no time. And
you.
granted, I was sick this week, so it took me longer. But
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way that this book was only what 600 and something pages, 623 pages.
Yeah, something like that.
But it was great. It really was such a great book. As I'm sitting here reflecting on it, out of 5 stars, I'll give it 5.
Okay,
Would you give it
interesting.
5? Well, I give it 4.5, 4, 5, around there, because I have feelings.
Okay, I do too.
What about you? What would you rate it?
I would do a 4, and I
Okay.
think if I wasn't as emotionally tied because of the first book, I mean, I probably still would have done a 4, but like this is like I'm giving you a 4, but I have a lot of strong feelings here. And so I'm
That's kind
excited
of how
you
I
do
am.
too, because yeah, it took me a long time to get through. Like it normally I would have read like Crescent City I read in like a day and a half,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't think I worked that day, but like I still, I like devoured it. This book it took me a while, like a few days to get through because one, it was longer, and my biggest gripe, are we ready to talk about our gripes with this book?
Yeah, of course, I'm
Okay,
always ready. You know I'm
gripe
always ready.
my biggest gripe is that, well, I have two. So the first one is that it's like all the world building that she didn't do in the first book, which is why you love the first book, is because you're just at school. It's like, the chamber or the philosopher's stone, like
Yeah.
you're at
Hogwarts.
school, that's it, that's the world,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Mhm.
all of that she didn't do there, just into the
God, this
second
book.
book, and I know it was necessary, but it was it was a lot of world building, and it was all, and I'm really hopeful for the third book, because I think now that you've got everything you needed in the second book, you should hopefully, like, we should hopefully be set up for the third book. But
Yeah.
it was a lot of world building. It was very long, and then, I was like, okay, I'm who is this? What is this? What I don't know. So that was my first gripe. I'm curious to know some of your other thoughts. When we start talking about the plot, I have another gripe.
Yeah, no, honestly, that was one of my biggest gripes too, because I didn't read Fourth Wing as early on as you did. Like I picked it up 3 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I think is when I read it. Because I said like I'm not on book talk, like I don't like I'd heard about it, but like in my world it wasn't like that big of a thing. Like I had a girl at work, she's like, you have to read it, and I was like, okay. And then I think you and I talked about it, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna read it now.
Yeah,
And like I felt like it was pretty fresh on my mind. And so when I got to Iron Flame and I was like, did I not remember a lot of a lot of
exactly.
things? I was
Exactly.
baffled and I was like, oh no, this wasn't discussed in Fourth Wing. It's just now being discussed here. So like I spent some time, like I spent a lot of time reading this book, being like, okay, read it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what I'm having to reread something. Like I know I don't like doing that. And so no, I had the exact same gripe as you. That's why I was like, I don't know, because I felt like we were building a backstory that I was like, why didn't this happen beforehand? And
I
like
know.
I understand why it had to be done, but it's like if that's going to be like the trajectory of this, like I'm going to be like, eh,
Yeah, and I think, I think that there wasn't a ton of world building, and you kind of like were left to a little bit of your own devices in Fourth Wing, is why it made Fourth Wing so good. There was other
mm,
reasons, but that was one of them. Um, but I just wish it was a little bit spread out, just a little bit. Um, and there were some editing things that were like were off. And I read a lot of self-published too, and
mm,
when I do like advanced reader copies or whatever, like I send like my editing notes separately, and I don't count them in my review, because like it's hard. Like writing a book is hard. I can't do it. Like, hands off. So I'm just gonna send those notes and be like, hey, like here's something to consider and make updates with. But when you are
right,
backed by a publishing house like this, like they're paying editors. It's not like the author is out of pocket doing this. Like they should be paying editors. So my standard for like basic editing, I'm like, there's misspelled words. And I promise I will stop shitting on this book in a little bit, and I will talk about all the things I loved. But that was just an annoying thing for me, where I'm like reading and I'm like, that's misspelled. Grammar's wrong. And I'm not great at any of that in general. And I was recognizing
right. Do you, and I might be wrong on this, but didn't we talk about the fact that this like book came out like quickly?
it
Like,
very quickly. Yeah, it was
yeah,
it was rushed. And initially, the fan base, I think, was like, oh, this is great, I don't have to wait for answers. And I was among them, and I was like, now I'm gonna get answers earlier. But then I feel like the book could have been condensed but had the same impact, even more of an impact. And then there
yeah,
was all the issues with printing, which, like, depending on copies, like I did get one copy that didn't have the dragon on chapter 17. Other than that, my copies were fine. But there's plenty of people who have posted about their copies being completely messed up. And so I was upset with the publishing house. I don't think that was on Rebecca's side. It was just the publishing
no.
house. I was upset about that, because I think if it, you have a whole publishing house to do these things, why were you not up to standard? So,
Yeah,
uh,
but it's like these books are expensive.
I it was like $30. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I bought 2 copies of Iron Flame, and then I bought my pre-ordered version of Fourth Wing. I got that, and then I bought the Kindle edition for Fourth
Right.
Ring and Iron Flame. Like, anyways, the amount of money I spent on these books, like, is obscene. So if I'm going to do that, I want it to be like printed right. you know.
Well, and it like the quality, right? It needs to. I mean, honestly, it does. Like, and if you know you've got people read, like, this is the book people are wanting to read.
Then it's yeah. Yeah, so that was a gripe with the publishing house.
Yeah.
I don't think that I think that did have some impacts to my reading, and how I felt about reading the book, but I am curious, like, plot-wise and, like, theories-wise, what you have.
I'm so. I don't even know where to start, to be completely honest with you. So, starting at Fourth Wing, I
Okay,
will say we're doing spoilers. So, nobody,
no spoilers.
if you are watching this and you haven't read it, this is your own fault. I knew the whole time that Brennan wasn't dead. I will say
You
that. Like,
did? I had
yeah,
no idea. No
no, like,
idea.
it was not adding up. I was like, if there's you just know, I was like, there's gonna be something at the end of this, and I was like, I feel like it's her brother the whole
Okay,
time. And so, like, at the very end, I was like, aha, I was correct. Was I correct about like most of the other things in the book? No, but I had a feeling about the brother. But my theory on the brother was incorrect.
okay. What was your theory?
I I honestly thought the mom was not. Okay, now I'm going into Iron Flame. I am thankful that the mother did redeem herself, but it crashed a lot of my theories.
Okay. I'm curious, what were your theories before that, though?
Like, I honestly thought that she was the one that made Violet at the very beginning of Fourth Wing, made her the, like, crossing the, what the frick is that thing
The
called?
parapet. No, I
Yes.
totally agree with you. I still think she did that.
Yeah. And so, like, that, I was like, okay, then I have no idea. So, anyway, like, that for me, like, threw me for a whole loop. And then I was thinking that, like, she killed her dad, and then I was like, and then it was like a very like sweet thing where I was like, no, she loved her father, but I'm still not
But
convinced
that
that the
doesn't mean that
father.
she didn't kill him.
I know. And so I'm so like, I'm just lost. I'm
Yeah.
just lost. And so I think that my mind's just going a million ways, and then I don't know. Clearly I am like unwell about all of this, but the family component, because I'm such a family person, threw me for a loop for sure. But yeah, one of my major theories, like, I don't know if it's still incorrect, but like, it still is not like totally adding up. But like, I know that I saw a video where there's going to be like 5 books in this series.
Yes,
So I'm like, what else do we not know
exactly.
that's going to like come out? Obviously, with the archives and like storytelling and all that. So anyway, I don't know where my mind went there first, but that's where my mind went first. So the Brennan thing for sure knew. With the first book, there's still a few things with the first book that I'm like, didn't quite like either get caught up on in the second book,
Yeah.
or I'm still questioning. So anyway, that's my initial thought. Tell me yours.
Okay. So so I've also seen a lot of theories on TikTok. So I'm trying to like parse out like what theories I've seen on TikTok and which ones
Mhm.
like I think and then also which ones I believe. So I will say, and I have a question for you. Did you figure out the poem, Amarantha's poem in Akhtar? Were you one of those people that figured it out?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, here's a big difference between you. Because you saying like you talking about how you knew Brennan and like
Mhm.
me, I'm just in for the ride. Like I did Feyre got that poem from Amarantha and I was like, it's not my poem. It's not my poem, not my problem. So I didn't figure it out. But I can tell you're one of those people that like really figures it out, right?
Yeah, but Spencer, the whole time you were talking about like grammar and stuff in the book and like missing dragons, do you think I caught one of those? No, not a one. I could have had a complete chapter missing, and guess what? Wouldn't have caught on.
But
Wouldn't have.
But like I just and this is why I love doing this podcast with you because like we both see so many different things and yeah I'm like oh I highlight things in my Kindle I'm like oh this is spelled wrong like da 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 I'm doing that and then I love your like highlights in Kindle you're very much like oh what could this mean like foreshadowing and I'm like if I'm not told I'm not figuring it out you will tell me. And this is why I make a really bad Swifty too, because I'm like people want to do all those Easter eggs and stuff, and I'm like, Nope, the queen will tell me when she's ready.
Like, it's a coincidence that all of these things lined up for her.
I know. Okay. So so that just side tangent there. But okay, so really I didn't have a lot of these theories on my own. I just had a lot of things
Yeah.
I had like problems with. But I will talk about the theories that I like piqued my interest that I saw. Um
Okay.
okay. So I just saw, and I'll have to send you this creator's handle before we actually post so
Okay.
you can include it because I think she had a really great theory and um she explained it really well, much better than I am going to. But so she highlighted a lot of the passages and she was talking about because there were some other theories, excuse me, like some other theories floating around that were talking about how Violet is potentially Venom. Um
Okay.
and I was just like, I don't know. I don't see that, but I didn't have a good answer either because she's something, right? Like she has to be
We know.
something. She's not ordinary. She bonded two dragons, and then we could talk about Indarna in a whole nother section, but like, she has to be something. And so, people are throwing out theories of like her being Venom. And I was like, well, she doesn't like the characteristics she doesn't have, but also Jack Barlow, like, hello, where'd you come from? And so I just didn't feel like that was like a theory that resonated with me. But this creator, she was talking about how she thinks that Violet is going to be something from the gods and related to the gods somehow, because Violet always talks about Malik and they
Mhm.
touch on the gods a little bit, like the gods of their world. And then Taryn is like, dragons have their own gods that they answer to. And
Yeah.
so she was positing that Violet and Indarna would be something from the gods because Indarna, once again, we'll come back to that, but like totally something different, right? She's a whole seventh breed. And she waited 600 years to hatch. So
That was my thing, is like, there's more.
there has to be more. Yes, okay, I'm gonna pause that thought. But yes, so I'm thinking like that made a lot of sense to me because also Liam at one point in the book was like, oh, Malik sent me. He sent me. And when she was being tortured and Liam was there, he was like, he sent me. And so one of the theories that like the one theory I did have that I saw most people ended up having anyways. So like, ooh, Spencer's great at foreshadowing. Um, so about maybe her second signet being able to like talk or communicate to the dead because she talked to Liam several times through that book.
Yeah.
And then what if her second signet being able to communicate to the dead, she can talk to the original six and one. And so she could figure out the wards and, figure out how 600 years passed since they had fought this war basically, and all of this information was lost, right? So if she could talk to the dead, what if she can get back that information? um so I thought that was like a theory for her second signet that maybe could be. And I do remember seeing some interview with Rebecca Yaros about how her second signet manifested in the second book, but it wasn't like nobody was like, oh, that's your second signet.
And she
So
didn't know either.
and she didn't know either. So that's why for me, I'm thinking it's like communicating with the dead.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense now that you're like
Right?
speaking.
Like
Because
it
I was like,
would.
it was weird, not weird, but I was like, how is this happening? Because you
Right.
see it, but now that you say that, that makes a lot of sense. And what a powerful one too.
I know. I know. But also, isn't that something like don't you think she would get like killed for? I mean, she homegirl gets tried to be killed for everything about her. But like Zayden, which a whole other we'll come to Andarna and then we'll go to Zayden because I have a lot of thoughts there. But his second segment,
Right?
he hid that because he didn't want to be killed for it. Like, I wonder if she would be killed for that second signet. But also, that
I
could
can't
be the
see why
only
she
thing that
couldn't be
saves, like the only thing that saves their continent.
everyone.
Yeah,
But yeah, if she's gonna have to use it through, because I honestly was thinking when she was trying to put the words up, I was like, maybe her dad's gonna come talk to her, is what I
maybe
was
that's a
thinking.
good. Yeah, that'd be
And
cool.
so then that would might be because I was like, Liam came and talked to her, like somebody else gonna come talk to her, and I was like, maybe it's gonna be her dad, and obviously it wasn't. But that was something that I was thinking might happen. But yeah, I now that you say it, I'm like, okay, that makes total sense because I was like, when is after we found out about Zayden's, I was like, sure, like we know she has one. Why
Yeah,
aren't
yeah,
and I
especially with
now like
Andarna.
knowing
Yeah, and especially with Andarna being so
oh,
powerful.
I love Andarna.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what do you yeah, talk to me about her and how
First
you
of all, I cried like a little brat when her wing wouldn't open.
oh my gosh, yes, that
I
was
was like, "What?" Because I was like, "Oh my god, she's gonna die, and she can't die." And then I was like, "No, that would be so silly. Like, why would that be the thing?" And then obviously, like when we found out she was the seventh, I was like, "Of course she is." But then when she's like, "I'd waited so long for you," I that's when I like something triggered in my head where I was like, "Yeah, we know Violet's special, but Violet's much more special
right.
than
Yeah,
we've known."
yeah,
And so anyway, that was like an aha. I think we all knew, like everybody knew that there was something special.
yeah.
Um, but I don't think anybody knew like who knew that there was going to be I didn't know that there was going to be like, oh, it wasn't 6, it was 7 and then she happened to be the 7th. Like that was a surprise in and of itself. Or
Yeah.
maybe there was something that I completely missed further
No,
down the
no, I think
line.
you're right, like, I didn't really I felt like Indarda was, like, the missing key for the wards, but I
Yeah.
didn't realize that, like, 6 and 1
Wow.
meant the dragons and
Yeah, me either.
not the people, and then that and 1 was, like, a whole different breed. And so can she is she like a chameleon? Like, does she just have scales that she can do? Also, oh my god, the moment my heart broke was, like, in I think in a good way, where she was like, "Well, I just wanted to be like I had my scales be black because I just wanted to be like Tara." I was like, "Oh my
It
god,
was
my
so
heart."
cute.
It was so sweet, like, she's so powerful, but she's still an adolescent, like, that she really
She still just wants to be like
used to be
loved.
yeah. Oh, that
We
was
always
so
talk
sweet.
about like I mean, like even just in like day to day, like people are just people. Like at the end of the day, people just want like to be cared for and connected. And I was like,
Yeah,
even the most powerful dragon
she just
just
wants
wants
to
to
be
be loved.
loved.
I do not have a signet, but I don't know why I said that. That was so weird.
Do you though? What if we all do?
Spencer, don't even get me started.
What would yours be? Like, what would you want yours to be?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that. I don't know what mine would be either. We'll have to end the episode with that.
Obviously, I would want it. Okay, fair enough. I was like, I hear what you're saying, but I want to continue. Okay, so anyway, so that was incredible, by the way, and I loved um, Liam's little sister.
Girl.
I know that we weren't talking about her, but like I feel like it all added up
Oh
when
yeah.
at the very end, I thought that she was just like perfect.
The whole character, like the character development for her was just great because she did start off hating Violet and then Violet was like, "No, I'm going to take care of you like whether you like it or not." And then Violet's like bargain of basically be like, "You train and at the end of every week I'll give you a letter." And I loved that she basically forgave Violet and fell in love with like Violet too through Liam's letters. And so it was Liam like from beyond the grave looking out for Violet and like wanting that relationship for Violet and Sloane because he admired Violet so much that he was
Ugh,
putting that in his letters. And so Sloane throughout was like, no, like you're not who I thought you were, basically. And yeah, oh, so I loved Sloane's character. The other character I was like surprised by was the king's son. Uh,
yeah,
I forget his name now.
out of nowhere.
Like I want more of that.
Was it Eric? No, it wasn't Eric. What was his
Something.
name? It was
I
like
keep
a
I keep thinking Alaric because that's from the Vampire Diaries, and it was
yeah.
something like that.
It was something like Alaric or Eric or something like that.
Something.
I yeah, I that was impressive. That was cool too.
I'm
I did
excited
enjoy the characters that were introduced. Like as much as
to
I hated Kat, I respected her at the end. I was like, okay,
what'd she do
okay.
at the end? I did not respect Homegirl at all.
Oh no, she was terrible. But
But
like she
her character was so good.
oh, her character was great. And she just was like at the end of the day, like I and I might be wrong. I felt like she was just like, we need to do what we need to do. And so we're
True.
gonna effing do
You're
it. And so
absolutely
I was
right.
like,
She was.
I appreciated that she did that. But yeah, was she a terrible human? For sure.
I mean,
For
but
sure.
like,
But I thought she was a great character to introduce.
yeah, I just dogs barking. I agree. I think Kat, I loved her being introduced. I thought that was great. I thought it was also so interesting when they were all at her uncle's house. I mean, that whole that whole chapters was like really great. I loved it. And then, but also learning that Mira can create wards not just by extending wards, she created her own ward around the three of them, which from like a family story perspective, I thought that was really sweet. You know, they all three were together and siblings and whatever, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but she can also, so I feel like there's going to be more from her since she can create wards outside of
I
extended
love
wards that are
Mira.
there. Yeah.
I love that she saw her brother and was just like, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Okay. Brennan's kind of an ass, right? Like
Yeah.
he's an
Yeah.
ass. Okay.
He definitely is. And like I'm like, dude, just like a one notch down, just a little bit, and
I
you'd be
know,
like,
like,
okay. He ticked me off more than just about anybody. I don't know if it was his like attitude or what, but
no,
he
he
pissed me
was
off
an
a
ass
lot.
the whole time though. Like I did not like Brennan. And
Mm-mm.
just because even Violet would talk about the switch, like she'd be talking to Brennan and she'd be like, "Oh, that's my brother," and then it'd switch and that's the Colonel. Like,
I didn't like that. I loved how Mira though joined, and she's a boss. Like she's just a queen in and of her.
yeah, in that moment where she was like, "You needed me and I wasn't there. I didn't hear what you were saying." Like, and it was so sweet. Yeah, it was just very
This
sweet.
book did make me feel all of the emotions because I was like laughing. I like cried a little. Like I don't want to say like a full on like bawled, but like my eyes teared up a few times reading it. But like the range of emotion that you felt reading this book was so good. I will say that I did get mad at Zayden more in this book.
Yes.
Because like in the first book, he was like exactly who you expected him to. Like he played the role that we know in fantasy, like
Yeah.
romance novels, very well. And then this one, I was like, dude,
Okay, so what do you think? Like, and this is like a philosophical question too, because I was talking to my coworkers, hi Steph, hi Amanda, if they listen. We were talking about this, and like Violet was very upset for the first half of the book. I mean, throughout the whole book, but really the first half.
yeah,
She was like, "You're still holding secrets," and like we were kind of going back and forward of like, would we be upset about that? And it's like, I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, what is your perspective? Like, should Violet have been as upset as she was about it? Should Zayden have been completely honest? Or, like, I don't know. All of it was, yeah, I just want to know your thoughts on that.
I have many thoughts on it.
Okay.
Um, no, not that many, I guess. But from my point of view, one, I thought she was being a brat sometimes. Like I genuinely did, like a few times. I was like, just bulk up and have a conversation. I do not like how he's like, if you just asked me, I
Do
I
not
don't
play
think that's
games
so
with,
manipulative. Yeah,
oh,
it's a game. He's like, just be straightforward. Ask me. No, that's being manipulative. I think that that's pretty manipulative.
I
Is
think just,
like,
it's a little gaslighty of being
it
like,
was. It was
well, you
like,
didn't
people
ask
don't,
me the right questions.
yeah. And like, people don't know what they don't know at the end of the
Right.
day. Like, and yeah, and he should have said, hey, yeah, you've seen the scars on my back. I can tell you, like, who's not going to see those and be curious? Like, I just, there were like, they were, I get like that it was reflective of like relationships and like how there's I don't know if that's what even she was trying to do in this, but I found it, yeah, manipulative. It felt very like elementary to me in a lot of ways, as
I
whereas like,
know.
no, they're like actual in this book, like they're adults and you're like having them save the world, yet they can't have just like a normal like it
And they're
just
in
yeah,
their
it seemed
20s.
like it was
They're
yeah, it
20s.
seemed kind of
They're not
stupid.
18. Yeah.
No. And so I was pretty put off. Like honestly, that them a lot of this book, like when I like find myself like scanning through, it was during some of their conversations where I was like,
Yes.
this is just so like philosophically, I didn't agree with either one of them in a lot of it because I thought
Yes.
it was just like, come on, you guys. Like I mean, and I get for like dramatic effect for the book why it was necessary, but I also think it would have been a really good opportunity. Like I thought the letter writing was a really great like thought, and I thought that the um like that the time that they had together every 7 days was a good opportunity, but it was like that it was so like this the whole time with them. I was like that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Period.
So that like that whole thing is exactly what my second gripe was that I was like talking
Yeah.
about is like I could not stand Xaden and Violet's relationship in this book. And I was
Mm-mm.
thinking about it from like a plot development point. I was like, okay, if there's 5 books and he's supposed to be endgame, like there has to be tension. But also, like, is he going to be the end game here? Because I also saw this theory that was like, Rebecca has been doing stuff that's like out of the norm for fantasy books. She's been really she's coming at it from someone who hasn't written the standard template of fantasy books. She's doing it her way.
Yeah.
Oh, what if the story isn't necessarily enemies to lovers, but the main plot line is lovers to enemies? And so, what if Xaden becomes the enemy? Because also, we haven't talked about this, he became Venom at the end, like, which I still don't know how that happened. I'm still so confused. Like, I don't know if I read it too fast, but I was like, what the hell happened? Because I don't know. And so what if, they were enemies in the beginning, but like they became lovers pretty quickly, especially in book 1. And if it's a 5-book series, like, anyways, so like what if it becomes enemies, lovers, enemies? I could see that happening too.
I could see that happening, and my thought was, yeah, enemies to lovers, back to enemies, and the next few books are going to be this like feud of
Oh,
like,
like maybe bringing it.
and then it's her like trying to get him back to who he was, and either I
Yeah,
don't know if it's going to be like a love loss or if he's going to come back to, I don't know, but that was my thought, because I was like, if you're going to write so many books, yes, you have to have some sort of, like, I was thinking of Zodiac Academy a lot,
okay. I haven't read the
and
8
like,
books, so no spoilers.
talk about long books.
I
I
know.
could talk for days about Zodiac Academy.
No, but they're so long, and I forgot
They're
so
so
much of
long.
what happened that I'm like, I really need to reread it.
And
And
there are so many new characters introduced in the final books where I'm like, every chapter I'm like, I don't know who this person is. I've never even heard of them before. So sorry. But read Zodiac Academy. But I was thinking about how that series is like,
yeah,
and I was
you're
like,
right.
maybe that's the direction
I
this
can
is
see
gonna
that.
go. But yeah, what I reread the last 2 chapters like 3 times to
I
try
need
to
to do
figure out
that.
what was going on with Zayden, how, and I still don't know how it happened. Like I must be a dingbat, because I was like, what do
No,
you mean?
I don't get why. And I think who was I talking to? I think I was talking to my friend Amber again. Hello, Amber. And if this wasn't you, sorry. But I think she was talking about how like maybe Xaden did it to save Violet's life because he was dying, and so maybe he became Venom to save everybody's life. But like basically how they get people to turn Venom is by giving them an offer they can't refuse, like an offer for power that they can't refuse, which from Xaden's perspective would be Violet's life. But
Yeah,
then
but I
also
think,
is Xaden still bonded to Sigale? I'm very confused on that.
well, because of what we learned about Jack and his, like, and his dragon. That's
True.
what.
So, like, does that mean all the dragons that aren't coming to bond, because each year less and less dragons, like, are they
Yeah,
not doing that because they're still bonded to their men and riders?
I don't know.
I don't know either. It
It
was,
really did throw me.
it threw me off so much. And I just felt like we spent so much of the book, like, listening to Xaden and Violet have, like, middle school problems that I was like, I wanted so many more answers from the ending, which is fine that, there's going to be more books. But I was like, I was so sick of Xaden and Violet, like in their relationship perspectives, like their other perspectives, like loved it, like it was great. But from their relationship, I was like, this sucks so bad. I'm so over it. Um, and then the rest of the stuff that was happening in the world, like I was like, I want more of that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm right there with you. My favorite part of the entire book, I just love like how much they love their squad.
I know.
Can we just talk about that? Like,
Okay.
just having people just so for you, like, no matter what.
I know, like I can like that's a whole squad. I can think of like 4 people that aren't like family, and that's a big number.
Really?
That's a big number for me where I'm like 4 people, like that would be my squad. And I never
Yeah.
I never played team sports, so like I just don't really get it. Like I'm just like, you know, I've been in the trenches as far as like work and I mean, I did have a state officer team for FFA that we were like die hard, like we would,
Yeah.
we really were bonded, but
Yeah.
it eventually like kind of faded. And I feel like this squad though, they're like, no, like we're in each other's lives like forever.
Forever. And that like that commitment, I that was my favorite part of like we because obviously in like the first week you hear about it, whatever, and then in this week I was like, no, they're like ride or die, like literally ride or
Literally
die.
ride or die, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like for my husband, I feel that way, and like maybe some people, but I was like, like I say that, but like for me, that's like a midnight release of a book, or like it's not like literal, like no, okay, you want to go into the archives and maybe die, okay,
Yeah, like let's do it. Yeah, like
what?
okay, so my state officer team, once again, I'm just throwing shout outs to everybody here. My state officer team, one time we were like, we should get tattoos. We should really get tattoos on our butt of like an emblem. And and
Wait, what?
and a few of us were like, yeah, let's do it. Like we're together forever, right? And then a few of them were like, absolutely not. So I'm like even thinking about that, like where I'm like, we couldn't even all agree on like some like little symbol of, and a tattoo is forever, so like it's not a little thing, but something that's like, no, we're
But
bonded
it's like a
forever.
non-visible tattoo.
No, 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 no. So like we couldn't even think of anything that was like, we're in this forever. And they are like, "No, I will go into the archives with you. I will give you my life, my heart, my head, my blood. You can have it all." And I like any team I've ever been on has been like, I mean, like, I'll stay an hour after work for you. But I really don't think I would have made it at Baskaya.
No,
Like, I would not have survived, I don't think.
I would. The only way I would have survived is by sheer manipulation.
Yeah.
Like I would have had to
Yeah.
do some pretty shady things or made some. I would have made some death, like some really bad deals to be like, keep me alive and I will ensure this for you. And then I wouldn't have lived up to those. I would have died.
I just think it's like kind of like the zombie apocalypse scenario where I'm just like, look, if there's a zombie apocalypse, just like give me like just let me be in my house, give me my dogs, give me my cats, give me my husband, and like we'll just die together. We'll be happy a little
That's so
die together,
sweet.
right? Josh is like, no, we're gonna live. And I was like, I don't if there's a zombie apocalypse, I don't want to, first of all. But that's kind of how I feel if I was at like Best Guy. I'd just be like, mm,
I would be
I don't
either
know if
one
this
of
is for
two
me.
ways. I would either do like anything and everything to be the winner of everything, or I would immediately have been like, here's the deal. This isn't going to go well for me or you, but it looks like you need an administrative assistant. And I would be a very good administrative assistant. I will take notes.
Real
I will take
Sortingale,
pictures.
I will take diligent notes for you.
I will be a fabulous person to boss around. Or, yeah, or I would have been manipulative and
Yeah.
done
I feel like
any.
you would survive. I think you would do well at Basquiat.
That's very nice of you to
Yeah.
say.
I think I would do well in the scribe quadrant. Like if Dane
You
came to
would.
me, like if he came to me and was like, I want to get you out of here, I'd be like, yeah, Dane, like get me out of here. Like I'm not staying. And I will oh, we didn't talk about this one, but the Dane redemption arc about him going with, like, I was for it. I was for that. But I
Did
am
you
worried.
know? You
What?
knew, like when he came down there and he pulled out like you knew he wasn't going to kill Violet.
Oh,
Like we all
absolutely
knew.
not. Like he was not gonna do that. Like, I mean, it was like he wasn't a malicious person. He was just a misguided person in Fourth Wing. And so, like he was in the wrong, but he was just misguided. Nothing he did was like, I want to kill you, I want to hurt you. Like, he didn't mean to get Liam killed. Like he was held responsible for his actions. Like, and I think the people should have still been pissed at him because he has a powerful signet and he needs to know what he does, right? Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I was here for the Dane redemption arc.
I really was too, and I'm curious as to what that looks like moving forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really happy for the Dane redemption story. I was impressed with him in this book.
Me too. I thought it was I really like Dane and I really hope he has a good future. And I liked that at the end of the day, he did what was right.
Hmm.
Um, and he was just like young and dumb. And, you know, he got people killed though. Like he did get people killed. His actions did get people killed, but like
Absolutely.
it, I think he paid a price for that. And then when it came down to it, he made a call to go and be with the revolution.
Yeah, and I appreciated it. I
Yeah.
did enjoy, and I was kind of caught off guard a few times. I was like, do I not remember all of these people? I feel like a lot of people were introduced in this book. And I was like, do I need to remember them moving forward? Um,
Yeah.
so that's a whole nother thing. But I was really, I'm really curious as to when the next book is going to come out. And I honestly don't know what direction I have no idea what direction the next book's going to go.
I have no idea either. Like, I feel like with Fourth Wing, I was like, okay, I kind of know where we're going. Like
Yeah,
from July, um, what's her face, Violet is going to join the revolution. Like, I don't know. I knew it was going in that direction. I was
yeah,
surprised she went back to Basgiath and
me too.
the second book. That one kind of took me off guard, but I was like, I knew it had to happen because all of the promotional stuff for the second book was about her at Basgiath. So
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I'm curious for the third book. I think it could be like even better than the first book, or it could be worse. But and I also think the healer, what was his name?
Um, yes.
He was the worst
Uh,
too.
Nolan. Was it Nolan?
Nolan. Ugh, Nolan.
Hate Nolan.
Like that's even worse. Like you think you're a good guy, but you're really just a bad guy. Like just be a bad guy, Just be a bad guy.
That was heartbreaking to like
The
having so
torture
much
scene, like the torture chapter was pretty hard to read. Like
I did not like that.
I think from a plot perspective, I really liked it in the plot.
Yeah.
But it was hard to read. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like well, and then when they were in there, I honestly thought when they were in there with their squad, I was like something's going to happen really bad to
Yeah.
one of them. I thought that to get Violet to speak, they were going to do something awful to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like and so for that I was so concerned because I was like, we can't lose one of them. I love
I think
them.
they already lost Liam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I honestly, yeah, I thought it was really, there was a lot in this book. So much happened. I will say there was like a million things that happened in this book. And I'm like, some of it, yes, could have definitely been condensed from editing. But like every part that was in it, I was like, it makes sense why it was.
Yeah. No, I overall really enjoyed it. And I really love I just love talking about books. So like the fact that like all these people were reading these books and were obsessed over them, I was like, I will get obsessed too. Like let's do it, Like let's talk about them, let's read about them. I think just reading is so powerful as a community. So um I really enjoyed it. I think yeah, my biggest issues were more with the publishing house, I think, than
Yeah.
anything. I think the um how it was handled wasn't the best, but I think what we got out of Iron Flame was what was needed. Um, and I think
Absolutely.
it was overall a good follow up to Fourth Wing. I think it was going to be a difficult book no matter what because you had to do world building, and that just
Yeah.
wasn't in Fourth Wing. So if it wasn't here, where would it be? So I think it was kind of a necessary evil.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think this is a really great time for you to show everybody that your shirt.
Oh yes, my shirt says violence, and the back has. No, no, let me do this. This might be awkward. We might have to edit it out, but
Isn't that so cute?
has a gold dragon and a purple
Oh, I
dragon.
love that.
You know the gold dragon is bigger, but now I'm kind of like, hey, and Narna might be, you know,
I think she's
might
going to be
be bad.
huge.
Yeah. So I think I really enjoyed it, and it was fun. I had the midnight release party, like just the fact of going to one. It was so silly, but it was so fun, and just like
It
making
was.
friends and making friendship bracelets. Like it, I feel like it was healing my inner child of like, the kid in middle school who like secretly read Twilight because she didn't want to get like made fun of for reading and like just really was excited about standardized testing because I got to sit there and read, and like it was like healing that inner child. And now reading is something that a lot of people enjoy and people share. And I love that. And I'm glad Fourth Wing and Iron Flame was a part of that.
You're gonna get me all emotional. I agree with you though. It was like very healing, and like yeah, I felt like a kid. Like
Yeah, yeah,
going
like,
through
is it Harry
that.
Potter coming out? Like, what is it, you know?
Yeah, it was a different experience than you're used to as an adult because it's not like weird by any means, but it's just like kind of unheard of to be like I was like, I'm going to a midnight release. They're like, for what? And I was like, for a book. And they were like, why? And I was like,
Why
because I
not?
didn't give me a reason. Like, I
I
love these
know.
books. So yeah, it was like it was healing in its own way. And it like made me being around people that love to read and being around like the energy of people that were just there to like celebrate
I know. And I feel like I would not have made it through like 2020 COVID era without reading. You know, that I
either.
think that year I was like, oh, it'd be great if I read one book a month. And I ended up reading like, you know, like 50, 52 books or whatever it was, just because I mean, one, I didn't have anything else to do. But like the fact that, you know, I wouldn't have made it through 2020 without reading. And then now we're able to go to midnight release parties and like be able to do that together. I think was just really it was a lot of fun, and I think out of like, my last thoughts on Fourth Wing and Iron Flame is that it's so fun. It's such a fun series, and it's been fun to be in a community with everyone talking about it and the different theories and you know something new because I feel like the SJM universe like people talk about a lot, which is great, and I love being in that. But you know something new coming into the discussion was also a lot of fun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Being able to escape for 6 to 8 hours into a completely different world and then that be what you bond with people of like anybody. Like books, you can bond with anybody over books. Like the guy that we met at the midnight premiere, one of the nicest humans I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, like never would I ever have met him, otherwise. And so it's just such a good community of people to be around, and like those are the types of people that talk about ideas and dreams and hopes. And so yeah, just overall super thankful. And I love this book. I am excited for the next one to come out. But I'm also excited. I don't know if the word excited is right, but since we're in season 2, this was our first episode, but now we're going to switch genres. Spencer, Spencer, do you want to tell him what we're doing next?
Yes. So we are reading Manacled next. Um and neither of us have really read fan fiction before, so this is a new era. We're going into a new era and it's going to be exciting. Amanda's like on chapter 7 and I'm on chapter I don't know, like 2 or 3 and we haven't talked about it a lot, but we're already just being like this is something. Like we are going into a whole different experience by reading fan fiction. I'm really excited because since I've gotten into bookbinding, like a lot of the bookbinders read fan fiction because you know you can't pay for a fan fiction to be bound. Like you really have to do it yourself. And so I've just learned about like the different fan fictions there are, especially for the Harry Potter world. And I'm excited. It'll be a wild time. But so we are reading that next. It's very thick and very long, but we are going to make it through and it'll be great.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see you next week on that. But before we sign off, what would your signet be?
Oh gosh, I totally forgot about this. I think my segment, I would love, and I know this is like a real thing that actual people can do, is like to remember everything that I read. What is
Oh
that
wow.
called? Like a photographic memory. I would
Yeah.
love to have a photographic memory. I would consume so many materials. And then also like with that, what I would love to be combined is like, I don't know if you've ever watched Criminal Minds, but Spencer Reed can like zoom through a book so fast and then he has a
Interesting.
photographic memory. That would be mine. I would love that.
Wow.
What would yours be?
That made mine seem so dumb.
Tell me now.
Well, my first thought was being omniscient, which is not possible. Like all knowing.
Mm.
That's not really signet
Yeah,
because
I
that's
don't.
like
I
You
feel like
can't do
that'd
that.
go against so many laws of nature.
It would go against every law. But like, do I want it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was like, second best thing, fire.
Yeah. I mean, Aelin Galathynia is just, I'm reading Throne of Glass right now, so,
So
yeah.
it's just like, I don't know. I just feel like it's like the most of the elements, it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I just something there's just something so powerful about fire that I was like, you know what? I don't know why my mind went there today, but it did.
That's why I
Yeah,
would be in the scribe quadrant, and you would be actually at Baskai.
I will go because I will go down fighting no matter what.
I just give up. I'm like,
That makes sense though. Like with yours, like I would need to come to you and be like, "Can I bomb these people with my fireball?" And you'd be like, "No," and I'd be like, "Okay,
yeah,
dang it."
that's fair. Like, it'd be a good, really good partnership.
Like control of the elements is what I would
Yeah,
ultimately want to
yeah.
do, like
I,
Avatar.
Violet's mom's, like, General Sorrengails was pretty cool too. Like, controlling,
Oh,
like,
for
storms and
sure.
stuff. That was cool.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, something with the elements would definitely be some sort of control of something where I can
Yeah.
use my hands and feel very powerful is all I want. Like when I can like when I was a kid and I could like static electricity people, I was like, this is what power feels. I'm gonna edit that out. That was creepy.
No, 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 no. You gotta keep it. Okay, well, as we wrap up, what are you reading right now, and what's on the horizon?
So I'm reading, obviously, the book that we're reading, and then whatever it's called, Manacled. I just started another book. I'm pulling it up. Oh, okay. I was in like we've been reading a lot of fantasy, so I wanted to kind of get out, not like out of it, but like do something else. And so I'm reading a dark Victorian romance called
Ooh.
Flowers for the Devil.
Okay, I'm adding that right
And
now.
so I was like, I'm gonna read that, and then I'm also reading some professional development books. One called Triggers right now,
Oh, okay.
which is really good. I'll have more to follow up on it later. But yeah, I really like it. So those are the two that I'm reading. Now, what about you?
I am rereading the Throne of Glass series because I never read Kingdom of Ash, which I know I never read Tower of Dawn either, but um, I never finished those two. So I'm trying to read them in start rereading the whole SJM universe in preparation for
Mm-hmm.
Crescent City 3. I don't know how I'm going to do it. There's so many books and so little time.
So
So I
many.
am reading that. One thing I want to reread as well, which I think I'm going to start as an audiobook, is the Fortuna Sworn series, which I don't know if I've recommended that to you, but it is so good. And to
What is it?
everybody listening, KJ Sutton is amazing, and she is also a vet tech. So she posts pictures on Instagram of all these cute animals and also stories about Fortuna Sworn, um,
Oh,
which it is. Anyways, love her to pieces. And my mom's dog is named Fortuna because I was like, no, you need to name her Fortuna. So I have a problem. But Fortuna Sworn is so good. So I want to reread that because the fifth book just came out on Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that.
okay.
And I am so excited, but just devoured them when I first read them. So I don't remember a lot of the details that I think I'm going to need to know for this fifth book. So anyways, so that's what I also want to read. And then I'm going to read Manacles.
Look at us go. We're such readers.
We are. Do you have a reading goal for the year?
Yeah, I don't know if I've met it because I honestly keep forgetting to update Goodreads because I don't read everything on Kindle. Mine was
Oh yeah.
52, so one book a week, which I think I've hit. I don't think I've hit it according to my Goodreads, but I need to just go through and like write off everything that I've actually read.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that for
What was
Kindle.
yours? Was yours like 150 or 200 or
No,
something
oh
like that?
God, no, no, no. I did do 52 to start, and then I was doing really well on my 52. So I was like, oh, I can up it to 75. I can do that. Well, now I'm 12 books behind schedule. So
Gosh.
I've been like constantly fighting to get like, I was like 14 books behind schedule, and now I've gotten to like, I was at 11, and then, yeah, anyways. So I'm at 54 books. I'm trying to hit 75 this year. One year I really want to do 100. Um,
Me too.
that's my
Maybe we
goal.
could do that next
I
year
think
as
that's
like our.
pretty cool
I'm
because
gonna be like, I read 100 picture books.
that's like 2 books a week, right? Like we both could do that.
Yeah.
Trying to get
Yeah,
to,
I I think we could both do 100 next year.
I think if we start strong and we just commit, it'll be good.
We're shaking on it.
Shaking. Deal.
That
Okay.
was weird. Sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
getting weird.
I mean, we cheers. Like, it's whatever.
It's totally fine.
Okay.
But
Well, I think that's kind of a wrap.
I'll
We
edit out some of the last few minutes because we got weird.
we got so
So,
weird.
everyone, thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you so much, and welcome to season 2. We're in for a ride. More chaos to ensue and more wine. But just to recap, we talked about Girl and Dragon, 5 out of 5 stars for both of us. It's an Argentinian Malbec. And then we discussed Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, which was Fourth Wing was 5 stars, and Iron Flame was anywhere from 4 to 5 stars. So,
And
yes.
then Manacled next week.
Yes, Manacled next week, which I'm definitely going to keep reading and not get distracted.
You and me both, Spencer.
Yep. Well, cheers, everybody, and we will see you.
Cheers again. Okay.